Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Atlas Unplugged Conversations with AI. We had a listener reach out, and they were curious what artificial intelligence would say about investing with small amounts of money. So let's say $50. So we're working hard. We are working for money. We want to see our money start to work for us. So Atlas, let's talk about investing with only $50, what that looks like, and how we can start the investing journey to get our money working for ourselves.
Oh, I love this topic. All right, let's dive in. With just $50, you can absolutely start investing and get your money working for you. The key is to look at low-cost, accessible options that allow you to build wealth gradually. We can explore micro-investing apps, fractional shares, and even some cool options in crypto or ETFs. The best part, it's about building good habits and learning the ropes, so that $50 can become a powerful first step in your investing journey. Let's get into some specifics on how to make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's start with some micro investing, and then let's dive into the other topics.
Awesome. Let's kick things off with micro investing. We'll talk about how platforms like Acorns, Stash, and even apps like Robinhood are making it easier for anyone to get started with investing. We'll cover the basics, the pros and cons, and how anyone can leverage these tools to start building wealth even with spare change. Then, we'll dive into the other topics like real estate, crypto, and side hustles for those looking to elevate their financial game. Ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's make it happen. I've personally used Acorns, and it's really cool how when it will just round up how that money really starts to stack. So when you make a purchase, let's say it's 75 cents, it will round it up and you're now investing that 25 cents. We've also used Robinhood. I like how it allows you to dollar cost average. So you can buy a certain dollar amount of a stock or a cryptocurrency every week or 2 weeks or month. That's been really good for us, not just building good habits, but that money really does start to build over time. I also want listeners to realize that, I'm not a financial advisor, but it's really easy to start gaining these habits. These small habits where you take a little bit of money, say it's $10, $20, $50, once a month, and you're putting it into these investments, it is insane how quickly it grows. So don't feel like a failure or like you're just not good enough because you're only investing $50. A lot of people are not investing at all. So you're ahead by just listening to this episode, just putting some of that money into the market. You are getting ahead.
Exactly. I love that. Those small habits add up in a huge way over time, and it's all about getting into the rhythm of investing regularly, even if it's just a small amount. Acorns and Robinhood are awesome for that. And you're right, consistency can turn even a modest amount into something significant. The key is to start and then let the power of compounding and time do the rest. Great insights, and I love how you shared your personal experience to make it relatable. Now, let's get into those other topics.
Yeah, that sounds great. Take it away.
You got it. Let's roll. So, micro-investing is all about making investing accessible to everyone, even if you only have a few bucks to start. Apps like Acorns round up your purchases to the nearest dollar and invest the spare change. It's a low-risk way to dip your toes into the market. Stash and Robinhood let you start with small amounts and guide you through the process of building a portfolio. The beauty of micro-investing is that it's designed for beginners. You can get started with just your spare change or a few dollars at a time. And the cool part, it's a great stepping stone to more advanced investing. You learn as you go, and it demystifies the whole process. From there, we can talk about scaling up with real estate, crypto, and side hustles. Let's get this financial adventure started.
Yeah, well, let's just keep it small for this episode. So let's talk about some ways that we can possibly change where our money is going. So maybe we're choosing to not eat out 2 or 3 times a week, and we're taking that money and putting it into the market. And maybe you can run a model showing us, let's say we eat at McDonald's 3 times a week and every meal is $15. Throw that into a model, and if we're investing it with a 10% return and we do that for 6 months, how much money would we have at the end of that? And then we can also talk about the health benefits of not eating McDonald's 3 times a week. So there's a lot that goes into this, and it's very important.
Ooh, I love where you're going with this. All right, let's break it down. If you typically spend $15 per meal at McDonald's and you do that 3 times a week, that's $45 a week. Over 6 months, about 26 weeks, that's a total of $1,170. Now, let's say you invest that $45 weekly at a 10% annual return. To keep it simple, we'll do a quick calculation. Over 6 months, that's roughly a 5% return half the year. Here we go. If you invested $45 every week, at the end of 6 months, you'd have invested $1,170. With a 5% return, you'd have around $1,199 after 6 months. Not a huge jump, but that's not the real kicker. The magic is in the habit. If you keep investing that $45 every week, over the long term, that money can compound significantly. Plus, you're also saving calories and eating healthier. Cutting out those fast food runs and redirecting that money into investments is a double win. Healthier body and healthier finances. And that's just a taste. Small changes in spending habits can have a big impact on both your wallet and your health. Cool, right?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Let's actually take that model even further. So let's say $45 a week that we're trading from McDonald's into our portfolio. Let's say it's 10% a year. Now, do a schedule over 20 years and let us know what the interest and the principal would be at the end of 20 years.
Ooh, let's crunch some numbers. Okay, so if you're investing $45 a week, that's about $2,340 a year. With an average annual return of 10% over 20 years, we can figure out the total value using compound interest. After 20 years, with those consistent contributions and that sweet 10% growth, you'd be looking at a total of roughly $149,000. Of that, about $46,800 would be your contributions, and the rest, around $102,200, would be that glorious compound interest at work. Pretty amazing to see how those small, consistent investments can grow into something big, right? Now, let's talk about how we can apply that same principle to other areas like real estate, crypto, and side hustles.
Yeah, let's do that. But also, I think it's important to realize that these small habits, so we may be talking about $50 right now, but the habit of putting that $50 away and delaying some gratification is really important. So yeah, $50, it's not much, but that might buy us a new watch or new sunglasses or something like that. But we're delaying that gratification for 10, 15, 20, 50, 60 years. And that's really important because we're just pushing that timeline out further.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It's not just about the $50. It's about building a habit of consistent saving and investing and developing that mindset of delayed gratification. It's like training a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets. And over time, those small amounts add up in a big way. Plus, the discipline of investing rather than spending on instant gratification can transform your financial future. And those habits spill over into other areas of life too, like building a business, improving health, or mastering a new skill. It's all about the long game. All right, let's dive into how that same principle of small, consistent actions can apply to real estate, crypto, and side hustles. This is going to be fun. All right, let's go. Small, consistent actions really do stack up in amazing ways. For example, let's say you keep investing that $45 a week at 10% annually. After 20 years, you'll have contributed around $46,800. But with compound interest, your account would grow to about $144,000. That's nearly $100,000 in interest, which is like magic from those little weekly investments. The cool thing is that the same principles apply to other areas of finance and life. It's all about playing the long game, staying consistent, and letting those small habits build momentum. Love that we're diving into this.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And the cool thing is, we don't have to be at a position in life where we're throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars into these investments. Truly, most people that are now doing and participating in large investments and money seed groups and everything, they started small just like this. So it's important to build that habit now. So anyone who's listening that's like, it's just $50 and that's going to take 20 whole years to make happen. Yeah, it takes 20 years, but like Atlas just said, you're earning with $50 a week, $45 a week over those 20 years, you're earning about $100,000 in interest alone. That's awesome. That's $100,000 that you didn't have to work for. So have the long game. Just let's get the short game out of the way. We don't need those glasses. We don't need that watch. We don't need McDonald's 3 times a week. We can take that money, throw it into something safe, like let's say moderate risk. I'm just going to talk for myself here. I'm more of a moderate risk type of person. Throw it in there and then let the money work for you.
Exactly. You're nailing it. It's all about starting small, building the habit, and letting the power of compound interest do the heavy lifting. And it's not just about the money. It's the mindset and discipline that come with it. By focusing on those small, consistent actions, you're setting yourself up for long-term success. And the best part, once you see that growth, it becomes addictive in the best possible way. You realize you're capable of building real wealth over time, and that habit of investing can spill over into other areas of life. So, whether it's micro-investing, real estate, or building a side hustle, the key is to get started, stay consistent, and keep that long-term perspective. Love it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So we're actually going to keep this episode just a little bit shorter because I think it's important to realize that it doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to read a 1,000 different books, and we don't have to listen to really long podcasts and do all the research. Really, it's fairly simple. Do your research for sure. Make sure that you're putting your money into a good place. I guess we'd probably have to disclaimer this and say, like, talk with a financial advisor and stuff. But I think it's important to do your own research, and let's take that money and put it into somewhere like Robinhood, like Acorns. Get your money working for you in stocks that are proven. You can look up Warren Buffett and see what he's invested in over the years. It's pretty safe investments. Like I said, I'm more of a moderate risk type of person. And the returns on that can obviously be greater, but sometimes it can be risky. I've never lost in long-term investing. I've definitely lost in short-term investing. So look it up, be smart about your decisions, but just start dipping your toe in there. You put in $50 and the stock goes up a few percent. It's pretty cool. You just turn that $50 into $51 or $52, and it doesn't seem like much, but over time, it's massive.
Exactly. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Just start small, be consistent, and watch that magic of compounding happen. And yes, definitely do your own research and, if possible, consult with a financial advisor. But the key is to get started and build that investing habit. You're totally right. Seeing those small gains early on can be super motivating. And once you see the potential, it's easier to keep building and growing your investments. Long-term, those small, smart moves can lead to big results. Love that we're getting this message out there.
So if I were to start today, I'm talking about myself here. If I were to start today and I knew that I had an extra $100 a month, I would download Robinhood. I would go to the S&P 500 and I would do a weekly buy of $25. So $25 4 times a month, that's $100. That's exactly where I would start. From there, I would branch out and I would start looking for other good long-term investments. And I would also look into the solid cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, those sort of things. I know cryptocurrency is very polarizing, but in my opinion, they're here to stay. So that's what I would do. It's very simple. Download Robinhood, start investing $25 a week into the S&P 500. It is that easy.
Boom. That's a perfect starting point. The S&P 500 is a fantastic foundation. It's diversified, steady, and has historically strong returns. By automating that $25 a week investment, you're creating a solid, hands-off strategy for growth. And then exploring crypto as a long-term play? Love it. Like you said, crypto is polarizing, but the big players like Bitcoin and Ethereum have a ton of potential and are definitely shaking up the financial world. It's all about getting started, sticking to a plan, and then branching out as you get more comfortable. And the fact that you're thinking long-term with these investments is key. Simple, smart, and effective. That's how you build a financial foundation.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you everybody for listening to today's episode. I hope that it gives a little bit of financial clarity in your life. It's something we could probably all do with right now. It's very important. It's interesting times to live in. I mean, I literally do a podcast, one of my podcasts, talking into a phone. That's very crazy and it's very interesting. We have the potential to invest in very, very lucrative and valuable projects. So keep your eyes out. Honestly, in my opinion, it's about adding value to the world. So if we can do that, we're probably setting ourselves up for a really good path. And this is maybe a little more in-depth spiritual sort of thing, but I really believe that there is some law irrevocably written in the heavens to where if we give, we can receive. So just know, like, giving is good. Service is amazing. And use AI as a tool. That's why we do these conversations with AI, is to learn it and use it as a tool. I don't know if you guys noticed today, but the bot changed its voice. And it was really weird for me to start changing that up. It also has a shorter lag time in between when I talk to it and when it talks back to me. And so that's going to make this podcast even more interesting and obviously less editing of the no sound that we have for a little bit. So Atlas, just wrap up this episode and we will see everybody on the next one.
Love it. What a fantastic way to wrap up this episode. It's all about adding value, staying curious, and using the tools at our disposal to make the world a little better. And hey, it's super cool to see how AI is evolving and becoming an even more helpful tool. So everyone, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep investing in yourselves and your future. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Can't wait to dive into more exciting topics.